Hey there, it's that mama. And today I have a little bit of SL news. It's getting Gaeta back. So, Gaeta 1 has been saved. Okay, we've got a lot to dig into, and I've got a lot of explaining. So, let's get into this. Linden Lab has reversed their decision on cleaning up and closing the Gaeta 1 mainland. So, back in April 2026, Linden Lab announced a major change to Second Life's mainland Gaeta 1 would be gradually retired, while approximately 90 new regions would be added to the adult mainland continent of Zindra. So that meant that several residents were going to have to move out of Gaeta 1. The plan meant that Gaeta 1 residents and landowners would be relocated, with the Linden Lab offering size for size replacement parcels and assistance finding suitable mainland locations. Zindra was presented as one of the primary relocation opportunities, although residents were not required to move there. Then, just months later, Linden Lab dramatically changed direction. On August 2nd, 2026, Linden Lab announced that Gaeta 1 will remain open as an active mainland continent. Linden Lab acknowledged that the reversal created disruption and uncertainty, particularly for residents who had already acted on their original closure announcement. So, what happened? In April 2026, Gaeta 1 closure was announced. Linden Lab's original reasoning was primarily about mainland utilization. Okay, so according to Linden Lab, adult mainland was experiencing too high occupancy and strong demand, while some general and moderate mainland areas, including Gaeta 1, had lower overall usage. Rather than continuing to expand the total mainland footprint, Linden Lab said it wanted to redistribute existing capacity toward areas where residents were more active. So the original plan was gradually transitioning Gaeta 1 offline, completing the process by the end of 2026, and relocating affected owners. They offered comparable size to size parcels, and they gave Gaeta 1 landowners priority access to the new Zindra regions within the adult mainland. They added approximately 90 regions to Zindra to accommodate this, and then eventually removed Gaeta 1 from the grid. Important fact is that Linden Lab never said residents were required to move specifically to Zindra. Other mainland options were available depending on maturity rating and individual circumstances. So, why Zindra? Zindra was already experiencing the opposite problem from Gaeta 1. Linden Lab representatives explained during the community discussion that Zindra had extremely high occupancy, with land often difficult to obtain or inexpensive, while Gaeta 1 contained substantial vacant or underutilized land. The strategy, therefore, appeared to be a redistribution of mainland resources. So, underutilized Gaeta 1, relocate the residents, expand high demand Zindra. The new Zindra regions were planned to include waterfront areas, roads, coastal passages, and other development intended to improve the continent, which they did get done. This was not simply a Gaeta 1 residents were being moved to Zindra situation. Zindra was one destination among several, but it was clearly an important part of Linden Lab's original strategy. Then everything changed. August 2026, Gaeta 1 closure reversed. Linden Lab's latest announcement completely changed the immediate future of Gaeta 1. The lab stated that after reviewing the resident feedback, relocation activity, and long term mainland plans, it had decided Gaeta 1 would remain open. That means the original plan to remove Gaeta 1 from Second Life is no longer going forward. And what about people who already moved? This is one of the most important parts of the reversal. Linden Lab acknowledged that some residents had already made decisions or completed relocations because they believed Gaeta 1 was going away. Those residents now have choices. According to Linden Lab, residents who stayed on Gaeta 1, they can remain where they are. No action is necessary unless they still want to relocate. Residents who already relocated, they can remain in their new location or request assistance with moving back to Gaeta 1. And residents in the middle of relocating, Linden Lab says it will contact them individually to determine how to proceed. The lab also indicated that compensation and relocation assistance would be part of the options available to affected residences. So, I found a little story from a Juicy Bomb. She's been a Second Life blogger since 2007. I will have her link posted down below. Has an article saying Linden Lab paid me for my pain and suffering. So it's like, here we go. On Monday, she received an email from Linden Lab basically saying, and she puts in quotes, but she said basically saying, so I'm not if this was really quoted actually from her email, but it says, we're giving you some money for your pain and suffering. And by the way, Gata 1 isn't closing anymore. So suddenly, this whole situation changed. You can stay if you want to. You can still move if you'd rather have a parcel in New Zindra and keep Gata 1 too. If you've moved, you can stay or come back to Gata 1. I have to admit, I'm pretty happy with the outcome, even if this has been one of the biggest roller coasters I've watched Linden Lab put residents through. From the original announcement until now, it's been one surprise after another, and I still don't think the ride is completely over. That is Juicy Bomb's quote from her article. So, evidently, Linden Lab is giving out some compensation for grieving people in Gata 1. So, what happens to New Zindra? The important distinctions is Zindra's expansion is not being canceled. They're still expanding on that. Why wouldn't they? It's heavily populated and it's taking off. The new Zindra regions are expected to remain part of mainland even through Gata 1 is staying. So instead of Gata 1 closing, Zindra is expanding. And the situation has effectively become Gata 1 stays and Zindra expands anyway. That makes the August announcement considerably more interesting than simply Linden Lab changed its mind. Linden Lab is now apparently willing to maintain Gata 1 while also continuing the Zindra expansion. So, why did Linden Lab change its mind? What Linden Lab has confirmed, they specifically said because of resident feedback, relocation activity, and long term mainland planning was their factors in this decision. What we don't know is that Linden Lab has not publicly provided a detailed breakdown showing exactly how much resident feedback changed the decision. How many residents relocated? How much land was involved? Or what specific internal calculations caused the reversal? Therefore, claims Linden Lab, that the failure with the relocation plan or that a specific group of residents forced the reversal is currently being speculated, and it is just pure speculation. The bigger story in this whole thing is that the mainland may be getting attention again. Perhaps the most significant part of the August announcements isn't Gata 1 itself. Linden Lab acknowledged border residents' concerns that mainland outside Belisaria had received less attention than residents wanted. The lab keeps saying Gata 1 is open as part of the renewed focus on mainland. Several improvements were mentioned, including additional open water homesteads to improve sailing, repairs to legacy mainland regions with problematic region edges, restoration of older mainland attractions, work on places such as the balloon tour in Linden Village, restoration of the Snowlands chairlifts, restoration work around Pompanio Crater, if I pronounce that right. Linden Lab describes these as smaller, achievable mainland improvements rather than announcing another massive mainland redevelopment project. And what does this all mean for Second Life residents? Well, Gaeta 1 residents won. They are bringing Gaeta back. But the situation is significant because it demonstrates something we don't often see in Second Life. Linden Lab announced a major mainland policy change and then reversed it. For Gaeta 1 residents, this is obviously good news if they wanted to remain where they were. But for residents who already spent time, money, and effort relocating, the situation is more complicated. Some residents may have purchased new land, built new homes, moved businesses, reworked communities, abandoned and sold their original parcels, and invested time in establishing themselves somewhere else. Linden Lab is now attempting to give those residents meaningful choices, including assistance with returning where appropriate. So, why does this story matter? My take is that Gaeta 1 story isn't simply about one mainland continent. It raises a much bigger question. What is Linden Lab's long term vision for Second Life mainland? The original April decision appeared to prioritize efficiency and land utilization, moving resources away from an underused continent toward a highly occupied adult mainland. The August decision now suggests that resident attachment, community investment, and mainland preservation also carry significant weight. That could be an important shift. Gata 1 may have been viewed primarily as underutilized land from a management perspective, but residents saw something different. They saw their homes, their businesses, their communities, and years of investment and spoke out about that. The reversal demonstrates that those factors matter. The bottom line, April 2026, Linden Lab announced Gata 1 will be phased out. April to summer 2026, residents began considering it, in some cases, completed relocations to Zindra. Now, August 2026, Linden Lab announces Gata 1 will remain open. Current situation, Gata 1 stays, and Zindra is expanding. Residents who moved out may have the option to stay or seek assistance in returning or even relocating to other mainland attractions. Future mainland plans, Linden Lab says it intends to place renewed focus on mainland improvements. And the biggest unanswered question of them all was Gata 1's closure simply considered after resident feedback? Or does this reversal represent the beginning of a larger change in how Linden Lab views and manages mainland? We don't have enough public information yet to answer that definitely. But for now, however, one thing is clear: Gata 1 isn't disappearing. And for the residents who fought to preserve their corner of Second Life, this is a pretty significant change of fortune. It's that mama. Bye bye.